But I really think that like if you want something badly enough, you'll find a way to get it.
Welcome to A Life of Freedom podcast, your source of inspiration and information on how and why you should choose your own happiness, pursue your passion, design a life that fulfills you, and make your own. I'm your host, ISLKC. This is episode 1 of season 1. Today we are talking with digital nomad, remote worker, and traveler, the out of office gal, Lauren Gabriel. Let's get to the show. So, what's your current situation now that where do you live and how COVID has affected your lifestyle?
So I have been a digital nomad for about a little over a year and a half. And last year was amazing. It was kind of like the beginning of my digital nomad journey. I was able to go to 18 countries while working and traveling at the same time. It was pretty much the best year ever. It kicked off this like amazing chapter of like life. I like started my own business. And that's what really gave me the ability to have the flexibility to live the lifestyle I wanted. I had always kind of known that I was somebody who would work better working for themselves or not having like a traditional lifestyle. But I had been really scared to take the plunge, and finally an opportunity presented itself, and it was really scary and I didn't feel ready for it at all, but I decided to go for it and start my own little company. And I work with like one client mainly. So it's, you know, very tiny, but it works for me and it works for them. And yeah, so that's kind of like how I moved into, in a very nutshell package, how I got into like the digital nomad lifestyle. But in terms of COVID, I mean, obviously like it's been rough. The last international destination I went to was Costa Rica. And I got back like, I think March 5th was the last time I was on a plane. And I've been doing a ton of domestic travel, like around California. Okay. And I've actually like been to a bunch of really cool national parks that I'd never been to. So for me, it's been a lot of trying to take advantage of the things that are right here in my own backyard that I never did before. And I've also been doing a lot of virtual travel too. So Airbnb has like these online experiences that have been a really nice way to just kind of keep the travel dream alive and do something outside the box and experience different cultures and different foods. I've done tons of like cooking classes, some cocktail making classes, some like dance classes, like K-pop with a studio in Korea, and Irish dancing with a gal in the UK. So, you know, I've kind of found ways to get creative about how to get my travel fix. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, just kind of eagerly awaiting countries to open up. We have a few that the U.S. citizens are allowed to go into. I'm probably gonna go to Croatia later this month. So, okay. But that'll be my like first trip in 6 months.
Okay. So you talk about that you had been to like things that you always wanted to do, like do your own thing, and now like what is there like any specific moment or a reason that you like went ahead in the last year?
Yeah, kind of the company I was working for, I was employed at a company, and the company decided to close, like shut down all operations. Okay. And they asked most of the employees, we were told like, you know, March 1st, and by like March 15th, like pretty much all the employees were like done. Except for me, they asked me to stay on for like 6 months to like wrap up existing business. And in that, and I was kind of like, okay, I'll like stick around and do that for you. But I'll only do it if I can like work remotely and, you know, work from anywhere. And they were like, yeah, that's totally fine. So I I had 6 months like employed at like my old company to work with my main client on a like remote basis. And I kind of realized over that 6 months it was working really well. And kind of midway through that period, they were like, we'd really like to keep working with you. Would you, maybe consider opening up a little company and we'll hire you to continue doing running the influencer marketing program that I was running for them. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. And it kind of made it easier because I knew I already had a client. But there were still a lot of things that you don't really know how to do when you're starting, when you've always worked for somebody else and been employed at a company, and then you try to go over and like start your own thing and, figure out how to get like an S corp up and running, and like how to handle your taxes when you're self-employed, and, lots of things that go into that. But that's kind of how I transitioned over from like the being employed to being self-employed.
Okay. So I would say like, is there anything that inspired you, like when you're a kid? You said you always wanted to be this. So is there anyone that inspired you?
Yeah. So about 4 years ago, I was traveling and I met a girl named Krista, who was a digital nomad. And like, I feel like 4 years ago, digital nomads, like that was it was a more rare thing than it is today. And nobody had really heard that term back then. But she described herself as a digital nomad, and she explained to me like that she worked while traveling and kind of how that, setup and lifestyle, what worked. And I just thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever heard of, because as somebody who loved travel and tried to like finagle their vacation days to do as many trips as possible and see as much of the world as possible, the idea of being able to work and travel at the same time was incredibly appealing. And so we kept in touch. Like we didn't see each other for 3 years. But the minute I found out I could become a digital nomad and work remotely, I hit her up and I was like, hey, like I can work remote. Like, where in the world are you? And she's like, I'm in Portugal. Like, you should come. There's actually an empty room in my house that I'm staying in. So I like booked a ticket and met up with her, and we clicked, 3 years ago. We hadn't seen each other in 3 years, but I feel like, travel friends are kind of friends forever. And it was super fun. And she kind of showed me the ropes and introduced me to a bunch of the digital nomads community in Lisbon, Portugal. And that's kind of how I was inspired and kind of found out about this lifestyle. And, I've kind of been paving my way since then. But yeah, she was the original one who inspired me. Her handle is @Christabella Travels.
Okay, I heard of that. So, so have you been? So, like, what are the places you've been to as a digital nomad for first year?
So I've been to Portugal, Amsterdam, Croatia, Panama, Vietnam, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Copenhagen, Prague, Munich. Where else? There's more. Costa Rica, and then Eastern Africa, like Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda. So those are my last year's travels. I think I got everything. London a couple times too last year. Yeah.
So like, have you been to Chiang Mai also?
Yeah, I haven't been to Chiang Mai as a digital nomad, but I love Chiang Mai. I've been there as a traveler, and I definitely want to get back soon. I'm a big Southeast Asia.
Agree. So I'm actually from Sri Lanka. So like, how was your experience in here?
I had an amazing time. And oh my gosh, the food was so good. It's like definitely one of my favorite cuisines I've encountered while traveling. And yeah, just super, super beautiful country. I had a really nice time. And I had a really nice driver too, who like, I was by myself. So like, I was glad he was like cool and like, could keep me company on the drive around the country.
Okay. So what is like the most memorable moment from your travels from the past year or before?
Probably Eastern Africa, because I think that, safaris are pretty hard to beat in terms of really cool travel experiences. no matter how many times you go on safari, you literally see something new every single day. It might not be a new animal, but you'll see like a new interaction or, a different colored sunset. So there's just, and I think that when I first started safaris, I thought it was all going to be about, okay, like checking off like the animals, the different animals you wanted to see. And then I just realized there's like so much more to safaris than like, just seeing an animal. Like, you can see a cheetah hunt a zebra or a lion mating. The way lions mate is they'll leave their tribe. What's it? Pride. They'll leave their pride and like go off for like a week, just like the two of them. And it's like kind of a funny thing to witness. So yeah, I mean, I just think that it's so cool and there's just so much to experience and see, and it's very different than anything we have at home. So that makes it kind of extra special and cool. And I just find Africa so beautiful. The sunsets are just incredible. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely a big lover of Africa. I would also say like starting off my digital nomad journey in Lisbon and getting to meet like the whole digital nomad community was really cool too. Just, kind of finding other people that are in the exact same boat and work remotely and kind of, getting to know them, being inspired by them. There's so many people that are entrepreneurs and, are off like running their own businesses or getting like cool projects off the ground. And I just found that very inspiring and cool to be around. So I really like that experience as well.
Okay. What you do is like mostly solo travel, or are you travel with groups or your friends?
It's mainly solo travel, but I did Africa was with my boyfriend and his family. And then we also were in Prague together. And then I was in Lisbon with Krista, my friend who I mentioned. And then I was also with a friend one of the times I went to Europe, I was with a friend for Copenhagen and Amsterdam.
Okay, so like how do you define the experience on both sides, being with friends and going solo?
Yeah, it's definitely different, but I love both ways. When you're with somebody, you get to have this like shared experience, and I feel like it's very bonding when you experience something cool and are kind of in a new place, in a new environment, experiencing and doing new things. I think that it helps you kind of become fast friends, or if you're already really good friends, just kind of continue cementing that like friendship or relationship, like, love relationship, family relationships. So I think that that's fun. Like, and it also like gives you somebody to talk about the experience with. So like you might get to hear somebody else's opinion that like maybe it wasn't something you considered, or somebody else is able to share something relating to the history or the culture. And so there's kind of like that two-way street and that back and forth and that opportunity to kind of talk about the things you're seeing and doing. That's cool. But then solo travel, I really love because I think it is an opportunity to just be really kind of introspective and think a lot about, the place you're in and like how you were affected by the experience that you just had. I think that when there's nobody around to distract you, you can really like take in the beauty of like the place you're in, and that's kind of nice. And it also like forces you to meet people and talk to people. And, I feel like when you're with friends or with family, you might not go out of your way to like talk to a local and get their perspective or ask them questions about the country. But I honestly think that's one of the coolest things about travel is getting to know the people who live there. And I think when you're alone, you're more likely to seize those opportunities and have chats with people that you might not normally have a chat with if you were in a big group traveling. So, I think there's benefits to both sides, and I'm glad that in my life I get to experience solo travel, friend travel, relationship travel, family travel, because I think all of them are really nice experiences. And when you do a lot of travel, it's nice to kind of mix things up a bit.
Okay. So you mentioned your boyfriend. You meet him before you're traveling or while as a digital nomad? Or like, how do you like?
We've actually known each other since high school, so a very, very long time. And we've been together for like 5.5 years, I think. So a long time. Like, he is not a digital nomad, so that honestly is like a hard part sometimes because, I miss him a lot, and I know he misses me too, and he has to put up with me like jetting off all the time. But like, he gets it, and he knows it's my, biggest passion. And, he knows that I have this like side project with my travel blog and Instagram. And I've been I'm launching like a group trip our first trip is going to be to Bali, like Bali Girls Getaway. So I'm working on launching these group trips for women. So, he gets it. He misses me, but he like puts up with me being gone a lot. But yeah, I would say that is honestly the hardest part of this like lifestyle for me personally, is just having a relationship that I care about that is very different. Being with a partner is a very different work situation than I do. So yeah, although he's might be getting sent to South Africa for a few months. So, I'll probably go with him there and explore South Africa a little bit more. I loved South Africa, and I would be excited to go back. So, things can change at any time, So I think that the best you can do in a relationship is just be supportive of each other and the things that are important to each one, and be there for each other. And yeah, you never know what's going to happen next.
So I was like looking through your Instagram stories this morning. So you talk about like making your family tree. Like, how was that experience?
Yeah, so the story behind that is that I decided I wanted to like get dual citizenship, Italian dual citizenship, like get an Italian passport through my dad's parents and grandparents who were born there. So I was putting together like all those kind of family documents and information. And then kind of in the process, like on ancestry.com, I started filling in all like the different family tree links. And I don't know, that to me is very cool. I'm definitely a nerd at heart though. So, it's kind of like detective work a little bit, like going back 6-7 generations, trying to figure out, okay, like, reading a magazine, reading like a newspaper obituary clipping, and then, figuring out what the death day was. And then that leads you to another clue. It's total detective work. It's actually kind of fun though.
Okay. So I've seen like started reading your ebook. So that's how make friends while you travel. So do you have any tips to go?
Yeah, definitely. So I used to travel and like stay in hostels, and I still think that hostels are great for meeting people. And especially if you are like younger, like early mid-20s, like 100% stay in hostels. But if you're like a little bit older and, feel like you'd like to have a little more space, comfort, there are other ways to make friends and not be alone when you're solo traveling. A few of my favorite things to do are to do Airbnb experiences. I've met so many cool locals and fellow travelers this way. It definitely caters to like a little bit younger demographic. So, you're not going to be on a tour with like all 60-year-olds, most likely. Like, there'll be generally like, a number of like younger people. Or like sometimes I've been on like private tours and just met like a really cool host who's local, and I end up becoming friends with them and then doing other stuff together. So I definitely think that Airbnb experiences are a really good way to go. Group trips are a good way to go. So that you're going to be, you're going to have kind of built-in friends. That's one of the reasons I like launched my group trip to Bali for women, is I wanted to, help women find like-minded individuals to connect with, bond with, travel with, because I feel like the older you get, the harder it is to coordinate schedules. And, as people get older, like people start getting married and having babies and buying houses, and they just have other priorities. And it's not to say there's anything wrong with those priorities. They just might not be the same priorities that I have as like a traveler. So, it's a way to kind of bring together travelers so they can meet and while, being in a beautiful, cool setting. So group trips, that's one. I also think that hanging out at the bar is a really good tactic, because you can strike up a conversation with the bartender. You can be there, as people are walking up to order drinks. And, if you hear somebody talking about some cool activity they just did, you can, ask them like, oh, like I've been wanting to do that. Like, can you give me some tips or whatever? I just think it's kind of a little bit harder to do that when you're sitting at a table. The other thing I would say is to not have your head in your phone. I know when you're by yourself, it's really tempting to kind of distract yourself with your phone. But when your head is down in your phone, like it doesn't make you seem very like open and inviting and down to converse. So keeping, your phone away is a really good tactic as well. Body language too, like not having your arms crossed, something to think about as well. I'm trying to think what else. Digital nomad retreats. That's another good one. So there's a couple companies like Wi-Fi Tribe, Work Wanderers, Hacker Paradise that do like 3 to 6 week digital nomad retreats. So they basically host everyone in a house and provide like Wi-Fi and a nice workspace, so people can, get their work done in a cool new environment. And then on the weekends and in your time off, you can go and like explore the new city you're in. So that's a really good way too, because it also like definitely caters towards a little bit older traveler as well. So, if you're looking for people that aren't going to be like 18-year-old gap years, like that's a nice place to look as well.
Okay. So like you also have a ebook on sustainable travel. So what are the tips for that?
So a few things that there's like a few things that I like to carry with me whenever I'm traveling. And those are things like, reusable utensils. So you don't have to take, plastic ones. Carrying a water bottle with you that has like a filter is really good as well. This is especially good if you're, traveling in places like Southeast Asia or Africa. It makes it, easy to make sure you always have clean water, but you don't have to buy water bottles, which is contributing to the plastic problem and the waste problem. A few other things like would be, just making sure that the tours and activities you are supporting actually like benefit the local population. And what I mean by that is like, do they employ local guides? Do they, teach about the culture of a place versus, just some pop-up activity that has nothing to do with like the specific place you're in. Like, say if somebody sets up like a zip line in Bali, a zip line doesn't really have anything to do with the culture. And it was literally just placed there for tourists. And I'm not saying like you can't ever do a zip line, don't get me wrong. But like, I'm just saying when you're thinking about like your entire trip as a whole, it's good to think about like, all right, so what are the things that actually teach me about the culture? Because those are the things that are helping to preserve the culture. What are the activities that actually are employing locals so that my presence in this place is benefiting the locals? The thing you really want to think about is like if you are taking up space in another person's country, how are they benefiting from you being there as well? So that can be like partaking in their tourist activity or staying in a locally owned hotel. Hotels is another big thing you can think about. Like obviously there are a lot of chain hotels, but I try to always find like locally owned hotels, small guest houses, Airbnbs, that sort of thing, so that you make sure that your tourism dollars are actually benefiting the local economy and the people who live there versus like the big businesses. So yeah, those are like a few things to think about. There's like so much more like in depth you can go like on this topic. But those are a few like, kind of key points. Slow travel is another big thing too. Like the more you can do slow travel, so you don't have to like get on a plane, which, uses a ton of fuel and that's a ton of resources. And you can, there's a lot of organizations that plant trees. And so whenever I travel, I actually subscribe monthly to tree planting as like one of my monthly donations. So I make sure that I'm helping to offset some of my carbon footprint by planting more trees.
What are the work that you do as a digital nomad?
Yeah, so I'm in marketing, which and my specific kind of area is influencer marketing. So I work with a major beauty brand to run their influencer marketing program. And so we create video content, social content, events, and that sort of thing for like a beauty brand.
Okay. So also how do you keep motivated while you're traveling and doing these things? Sometimes if you're fast traveling, it would not be very convenient.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely it can definitely be hard sometimes because when you're in a cool new destination, all you want to do is explore it all day long. And people always ask me that, how do you, get your work done? But the thing is, I feel so lucky that I have the work life situation that I do, and I don't want to do anything to mess that up. So, I just know it's a trade-off. It means I might not be able to do every single thing I want in that city, but at least I get to be there at all, and I get to be doing some of it. So for me, I think that, it's just practicing gratitude and knowing how, grateful you are for the situation you have, and knowing that, it's a long life. You will get to go back to these places. There will be more time. And I always remind myself that, I was in London, Munich, and Amsterdam twice last year. So maybe I didn't get to hit everything the first time, but I got to go back and do more on the second go around. I didn't know up front that I was going to be making those second trips back. So you never know what life's going to throw you. And, I think that just learning to be chill and go with the flow and not have these expectations that you're going to see and do everything every time, really serves you well.
Okay. So you talk about also travel hacking. So what kind of tips do you have for that?
I don't know, what area of travel hacking? Do you mean for
credit cards?
Points. Yeah. Points and stuff. Yeah. Yes, the Chase Ultimate Rewards program is my absolute favorite program. This can get so deep, but I am a really big fan of having the Chase. I know that the annual fee on the Chase Sapphire Reserve is really hefty, but the benefits for anyone who travels a decent amount, pay for themselves 100 twice over. I think last year I made $1,500 in points to spend on equivalent to $1,500 to spend on travel. And I had a $300, they have a $300 travel rebate. So it really helps to offset the annual fee. And there's really nice perks like lounge access and primary rental car insurance. So there's a lot of really nice benefits on that one. So Chase Sapphire Reserve is awesome. And then I also always recommend that people get the Freedom Unlimited card as a supplementary card, and to put most of their purchases on that card, except for travel and dining, put that on the Chase Sapphire Reserve because you get 3 points per dollar on that card. And then the other card gives you, I think it's 3 points per dollar on all purchases up to $20,000 for the year. And then after that, it's 1.5. So you can you can transfer points back and forth between those two cards. So it's really a cool program. I would also say don't be afraid to open, assuming you have good credit and you pay off your credit cards, that's number one tip. But if you are paying off your credit cards, don't be afraid to open a credit card and get the points bonus and then close it. There's a lot of programs that overlap, so you can literally combine points, and it becomes a really nice way to travel for free. Every country has different situations with their credit card offerings, but the U.S. definitely has some really lucrative and advantageous ones.
So do you have any habits or routines that help you to be more productive?
Yes, I think that setting goals for the day and the week can be really, really good. I usually have 3 things that I want to get done in a day, and I don't put more pressure on myself to do more than that. Obviously, I do try to do more, but, kind of having a really specific goal of the things you're getting done that day, and anything else is just icing on the cake, can be really helpful. I know that, sometimes tracking your time is really helpful for productivity, just kind of understanding where your time goes. There's an app called Toggle that I really like for tracking your time, and just understanding all right, so where am I spending? Where's my day going? So I think that's really helpful too. Yeah.
Okay. So also, how long do you have planned to do a digital nomad? So have you ever have a feeling of settling down in the future? How about have you ever thought about those?
Yeah, it's I'm sure at some point I probably will, but I'm so happy right now. I don't really want to change things at the moment. I want to kind of explore this phase and chapter of my life a little bit more before I settle down. I also know that I'm always going to be the sort of person that wants to travel, and I want my kids to travel and see the world. So I think that we're always going to have a little bit of an alternative lifestyle. So I just have to figure out what that looks like. I have to figure out how kids fit into that and how we still, give them everything they need at the same time.
Okay. So how would you say the digital nomad space would looks like in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, so good question. I definitely think with COVID and more companies going remote temporarily, everybody's realized that workers are just as productive, if not more productive, working from home and working remotely. And it also reduces so much overhead for the company itself. So it's really a win-win situation. So I definitely think we're going to see our community grow significantly. I think that next year will be still kind of weird because I think that we're still all having a little bit of PTSD from COVID. So I think until there's a vaccine, and even after there's a vaccine, I think that people are going to be a little anxious. But I also think that there's a lot of travelers are going to find a way. And I feel like the sorts of people that gravitate towards remote work are the type of people who are going to be the first people back traveling and buying those plane tickets and getting back out there. So, I hope that we see our community continue to grow and expand, and other digital nomad communities in kind of up and coming hotspots continue to kind of thrive. And probably more digital nomad retreats too. That'd be nice. More options to choose from and more people to get to know.
So, you have recommended Airbnb experiences and online experiences both. So, what do you see as the benefits, if you would attend?
Yeah, I think that virtual travel experiences are a really great way to experience culture and do something a little bit outside the box. And also, it's a really nice way to connect with family or friends that are in other states or cities that you can't see on a regular basis. It's kind of like a unique thing to do with them. And, it's a great way to connect with people in other countries. And especially as our kind of options are limited for travel right now, I think it's a great way to kind of fill in those gaps. And, even after COVID, I think it's going to be something that sticks around. I still really appreciate that opportunity to meet people and from all over the world. So, I think it definitely grew out of the COVID and lockdown situation, but I don't think it's going anywhere, even when things start to go back to normal.
So finally, what's your advice to anyone who wants to be a digital nomad? How would one could get started?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that you are super in luck because you most likely just had your trial run working from home during COVID lockdowns. So, work really hard, show your boss that this way of working does work. Don't give them any reason to tell you, oh no, you really slacked off when you worked from home. Work your ass off, work even better, show up and get shit done. Because that's the stuff that, when you go to make your pitch to your boss to continue working remotely, they're going to have nothing to point to tell you why you can't do it. You're going to have proof that it works. So I think we're super in luck right now. And we can kind of use this period as a unofficial trial run for working remotely and finding a way to keep it going. I think that's the most obvious and best way. The other, route you can go is to become self-employed, work for yourself, go off on your own, freelance. that's a really good way to make sure you can continue working remotely and kind of set up the lifestyle you want. Or you can go look for a remote job route too. There's like job boards out there that'll cater towards remote work specifically. But I really think that like if you want something badly enough, you'll find a way to get it. You have to kind of reach out and take those things you want. And I feel like the digital nomad community is the people that are attracted to that lifestyle are generally like a little bit scrappier and adventurous. So, I believe if they want it, they can achieve it.
So how like people can get in contact with you, like your Instagram, or I've read some of your blog posts, like they are great. So you can like all those, you have some kind of ebooks that people can download, so you can tell it.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. If you want to get in touch with me, definitely check me out on Instagram. You can find me at theoutofofficegal. I also have my travel blog, which is outofofficegal.com. If you ever have any questions about travel, or, if you're a girl and you want to join one of my girls' getaways, the first one's to Bali in May, definitely hit me up. We still have a few spots available. If you're listening and hear this episode and enjoy it, I'd love for you to, reach out and tell me so.
Okay, great. So also, I forgot to ask, like, how did you come up with the name, The Out of Office?
So I wanted something that could apply even if I did someday go back to an office job. I was like, it would still apply because I would still post when I did go on my, 2 international vacations a year or whatever. Or it could literally refer to working, not in an office. And I kind of liked the play on like the out of office emails that come up when you work. That's kind of how I came up with it. And I'm like really finicky and picky, and it was one of those things that like just stayed in my head and didn't go away. So I knew it must be right.
Okay. So thank you for being here. So it's great to have talked with you.
Yeah, no, great to meet you and chat a little bit. And good luck with like the rest of the episodes and getting this all launched.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for listening to our conversation. Follow us on Instagram at A Life of Freedom Podcast. No spaces. See you next time.